Good afternoon, everyone. This is Maria.
This is Tim.
Welcome to the Pulse Friday Night Live. Tonight we're going to talk a little bit about hopium.
Hopium is that trading drug that everybody gets on, and we've all done it. I've been doing this for 20 years. Uh, I'm not on hopium as much as I was when I first started trading, but it's a drug and it's tempting. And hopium basically is you buy some BABA contracts at $3 and they drop to 270, and you're like, man, I hope it goes back to three. Then it drops to 250, and you're like, I hope it goes back to 270. Then drops to two and a quarter, and you're like, I hope it goes to 250. Drops to two, and you're like, I hope it goes back to two and a quarter. That's hopium. Your chart's busted. You've hoped too many times. The first time you start hoping, look at that chart. If that chart's looking weak or wrong and it's not going in your favor, you're probably best just to cut it at that point versus I hope I can, or I hope it does. I hope it does. I hope it does. And we've all done it. I still do it. But it's rare, and I try to keep myself out of that situation and tell myself the first time I have to hope, I'm wrong. Cut it. Let's move on. Like a bad girlfriend, it's your first date. You don't like the way she eats her food. Hey, you don't have to go out with her anymore. Cut it. Same way with a stock. If it's not going in your favor, cut it. Move on. You're not married to it. You're not even engaged. So you're allowed to cut it and move on. Go find a new trade. Maria, I jumped in there real quick and started talking about that, but I know you talk about hopium in the room a lot, and try to tell people your experience with that drug. So I'll let you go ahead real quick too.
And hopium, guys, hopium is a very, very vicious and dangerous cycle. It's very easy to hope that a trade will turn around. What our job is as traders is to get in and out with, with green, right? The second that you are in a trade that's moving against you and you're looking at it and you're saying, oh God, I hope this turns around, you're already done. You're better off just cutting that position and moving on. Um, I tell, oh, well, I had a member this week send me a message and was upset, really upset because they had started with a certain amount of money and they were down quite a bit. And I asked what positions they were in. And when I got the list of positions, my first question was, why are you on that hopium? And I think that that's an important question. If you find that yourself in this cycle of constantly saying, I hope this turns around, I hope this turns around, I think it's important to ask why you're in that position to begin with. Now, especially newer traders, especially the what they love to do, or what they like to do often when a trade is working against them, is they like to average down. And this member had done the same thing. They bought contracts at a certain price, the stock moved against them, and instead of cutting that position, they added to that position. So now they're holding more contracts at a slightly lower average, but it's still moving against them. So my question then to that member was, why are you adding to a position that's moving against you? If your chart is busted, why do you keep adding to it? There's no reason to do that. Cut it. Get out. There, you can find a
Maria,
better trade.
is that sort of like having a girlfriend that cheats on you, so you decide to go get another girlfriend that cheats on you, so you have two instead of one?
Absolutely. It's the same
You
thing. Or
should,
boyfriend, right?
or boyfriend.
For the
You
girl,
should have
for
just
us
got rid of
girls
the
out
first
there.
one the first time and moved on and tried to find something better instead of hoping that the next, don't go get the twin
Exactly.
sister. Don't get out of the family. Leave the cousins alone.
Exactly.
Leave the sister alone. Start over. Go somewhere else. No need to continue averaging. There's an old Wall Street proverb that basically says only losers average losers. Now, I don't believe that people that average down are losers. I'm just saying that's a Wall Street proverb that's been around longer than I've been alive. I still will average down in certain things at certain times, like if an ER is coming and I'm expecting some, you know, as Pete would call it, gamma expansion, or we like to call it reverse decay. But I know that stock. I know that stock very well. It's not something I just found on some message board somewhere. And oh man, he said it was going to run to $5. and it's only at 2, and then it drops to 1, and I'm buying more because he said it's going to $5. That's hopium too. You don't even know that guy. you know, you're all hoping it goes to 5, or maybe he's just trying to
Right.
get you to buy his stock. And one of the things, Maria, too, that we get hit with a lot is when to get out. Stops. One thing is, if a chart's busted, get out right there on the spot. Myself, I don't like to lose over $300 in a trade. So if I'm trading Baba, for example, at $3, and I'm only willing to lose $300 on that trade, Baba has 40 and 50 cent swings, maybe $1 swings. So I know if I buy 10 contracts and it goes against me 30 cents, my $300 is hit. I've got to get out. So because I know Baba trades in a heavier range than that, I may need to cut it down to 5 contracts. Then I have a 60-cent range, or maybe even 3 contracts, and I've got a dollar range because it's Baba. Or NVIDIA trades is kind of the same way in Tesla. So I adjust my contract size according to how much I'm willing to lose. I don't like to lose over $300. I make a gazillion trades a day some days. So if I do 100 trades and lose $300 a trade, that hurts very bad. So I try to keep my losses to 300 or less. And if I'm trading a stock, some penny stock at $3, same thing. If it drops to 270, my $300 is gone. So if I think that there's a chance it could go a little lower than that, I should trade 500 shares or 600 shares instead of 1,000. Because if I've lost over $300, either I've positioned myself wrong, and we're talking about scalps, not long term like Apple or NVIDIA long term. We're talking about scalping and day trading, not your long term portfolio. So I tend to adjust everything to where I feel comfortable. It's almost impossible to lose $300. It's never impossible, but I want to make it as hard as possible, right? Because I do like to trade a lot. So I know, Maria, you've talked to people about trading. Instead of trading 10 and 20 and 30 contracts, buy a couple. You say that a lot.
I do. I tell even experienced traders when they start having a hard time, the very first thing I tell them to do is to reduce their position size, quit buying so many contracts. So one of the things that we have to do as traders is know our own risk tolerance, right? We have to know how much we're willing to use. Tim won't lose more than 300, right? And he doesn't, he's very strict about that. And that's why he's been successful for so long. Know your risk tolerance. So yes, the very first thing that I'll tell someone to do is reduce the number of contracts that you're trading. Also, quality over quantity, right? We can go and buy, 100 contracts of a 10 cent, 100 10-cent contracts or whatever on a lower priced stock that, may be slightly more volatile and a little bit more risky. Or we could buy one contract of something like BLK, which we did in the room this past week. And that one BLK contract, sorry, Tim, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, how much did y'all pay for that, and how much did you get out at? I wanted to hear about that.
Absolutely. So that BLK contract, one contract we paid, and I've only bought one. I could have bought a lot of contracts if I really wanted to, but I only bought one, and it was a little over $5. I think maybe 540, 550, somewhere in that range. So $550, and today we sold those early. We should have held them a little bit longer, but we sold them early, and we got out between 15 and 16. Now those contracts went to like 20 plus.
Right, but that's a great trade. You don't have to get the whole
Absolutely.
20 plus. When y'all sold, it looks like a good spot. It looks like it was kind of turning there. You took your profits. It kept running, and you could have watched your $1,500 or that it was at between 15 and 16 go down to 12. Instead, you and Tech Money did the right thing. You cut it. Sure, it ran another $10, and that $500 could have been $2,500, but you can't know that, right? You let your winner run pretty good. Y'all caught a couple 100%. So, I thought y'all did very good on that.
It was a beautiful trade. It was a gorgeous trade. Like it was an awesome trade. But that's a perfect example of quality over quantity. I don't need to go buy 100 contracts of some lower price stock that has options that probably may make me, $200 or something like that. When I can buy one contract for 500 and make 1,500 to 1,600. So I talk a lot to our members about quality over quantity. You don't have to buy a lot of contracts to make money. If you are finding those stocks that are good quality stocks that have wide range and are known to make larger moves, and you're buying at support, or you're using your technicals, you can make, double, triple, quadruple what you've spent on that one trade.
And
The
not
other
that all
thing,
trades do that by any means, but I on Wall Street this week. He bought Thor today on a quick bump, made 150 bucks. But he recommended McDonald's Sunday night. That one right there was a 300 or 400% trade, and it was a chart play. It was oversold. He didn't go in heavy even then. A couple contracts like what you're saying. You don't have to have 10, 20, 30 contracts to make money in this game. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
you're totally fine. So when a member comes to me, just kind of to circle back, when a member comes to me, or a trader, it doesn't have to be a member, any trader, when they come to me and they say, help me, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. The first thing that I try to determine or find out is, are they trading on Hopium? And if you find, or if you're asking yourself that question and you find that you are trading on Hopium, then the question is, why am I trading on Hopium? Are you having a hard time with charts? Or is this just a case where you don't have enough experience and you're just doing whatever you can to make money? So those are kind of the things that I go over with people that I talk to. And then from there, once you recognize what's putting you into that cycle, you can work to break it. And once you've done that, you also tend to um, do better with your emotions, because you're not freaking out, right? You're not like, oh my God, I started with $1,000 in my account, and now I have 200. And now you're at 200 bucks and you're like, I need to buy a bunch of contracts so that I can make some of this money back. No. If you're doing that, stop. Walk away from the computer. Sit on your hands. Do what you need to do to not trade. You have to find out why you took that loss to begin with. So
And study that
that's,
loss.
I'm sorry?
Study that loss. Like you said,
Absolutely.
figure out what you did wrong. Why did you make that trade? Circle back through the whole thing if you've had a losing trade. I have several losing trades every day and every night, and I usually call Maria. I'm like, okay, here's what I did here. Here's what I did here. She does the same thing. We look at it and we're like, okay, what would we have done differently? And that helps us, assess for the next day. Because none of us are perfect traders. We're not doing this video because we're perfect and you're not. We rule, you suck. It's not about that.
No,
It's just
not at
about
all.
common mistakes that we've all made that we like to see people not make as many of, right? And I still get hopium every now and then. I walk by the hopium house and I'm like, oh shit, there's some hopium. Listen, you have to avoid the hopium house, right? You at all costs avoid the hopium house. But it's an easy drug to fall into in trading because nobody likes to lose money, and fighting that urge is a hard urge, to just, all right, cut it, cut it, cut it. We've all been in that long relationship where we're like fighting to keep something alive that should have been dead a long time ago. And 5 years later, you're like, why didn't I just cut it back then and moved on? And same thing with a stock. There's no difference. If it's starting to work against you and you're getting all those feelings of, oh shit, damn, cut it. Just move on. It's hard to do. As humans, we like to win. We want to consider ourselves winners. But in trading stocks, they're not all winners. Like they said in Bad Santa, they can't all be winners, kid. So, you know, definitely try to avoid the hopium house. Maria, I'm
The
sorry, I
other
get
thing,
carried away sometimes.
no, you're totally fine. So the other thing that I often notice is that people will let the trade turn against them, and that is, Tim has a list of rules, Tim's top 10 trading rules, and I love that list. And one of those things, or one of his rules, number two on that list, is don't let a green trade go red. And I have traders come to me all the time that say, I was up, 90% on this trade, and I had to take a loss on it. What am I doing wrong? And I usually ask them, why did you let that trade go red? And I've said it a million times. If you're a member, you've heard it numerous times. I will take a penny green over a penny red any day. I don't want that green trade to go red on me. So what I've found from, people's answers is that people are looking at their profits and losses, and they're seeing that they're up, 90% and they want 95%, or they're up 98% and they want 100%. And what I've told people to do, and I have to do it to myself too. I do it to myself all the time. I had to take my profits and losses off of my screen so that I can't see it. Why? Because again, we're traders. We like to make money, and that's okay. That's why we trade. We trade because we like green. We like to make money. But, we look at those profits and losses and we say, "Oh, I just need a little bit more and I have 100%." Or I just need a little bit more and I'll make 50% on that trade. When I find myself doing that, I take my profits and losses off of my screen. It forces me to trade my chart. I know approximately where I've entered, but I don't know exactly how much I'm up. All I know is that I have a chart in front of me and I have to trade my chart. And that's actually worked out really well for a lot of our members. And the majority of them have actually turned their trading around just by doing that. So if you find that, you're staying in trades too long and letting it turn against you, give it a try. I wouldn't try it with a whole bunch of contracts, but maybe try it with, one or two contracts and see if that helps you.
I like that idea a lot, because I've told the story 1,000 times, so our members is hearing this again. I apologize. In 1987, I walked into the Splash Casino with 300 bucks. I was up $990 when my uncle tapped me on the shoulder playing blackjack. He said, "Come on, nephew, it's time to go." I said, "Uncle Vernon, hold on. I need to make 10 more bucks, and I'm leaving with $1,000." Then all of a sudden, I lost that hand, and I needed to make 20. Then I needed to make 40. Then I needed to make 80. Long story short, I gave the casino back that whole 990 bucks and 300 in my pocket trying to make $10. I lost, 1,290 bucks total trying to make $10. If I would have just never been sitting there counting every chip, which I guess that old song, "Never count your chips while you're sitting at the table." Same thing you're saying, Maria. If I would have not knew I needed that $10, I would have probably just walked out and went back and lost it all next week, right? Because then I'd have been a genius. But still, yeah, that you're exactly right. When you catch yourself doing that, I need just that little bit more, a little bit more. Turn that shit off.
Absolutely. That's probably and it's a hard thing to do. It's hard to do, but I promise once you get over that, it gets easier. I'm not going to say that you'll never deal with it again. You will. I don't care how much experience you have. Hopium and, wanting that little extra bit, it's going to get you. It will. It still gets me. And it will
It's
continue to
brutal.
get me, and I think that as traders, we have to allow ourselves that little bit of error, like room for error, every now and then. If you accept the fact that it's going to happen every now and then, and you recognize when you're doing it and you can stop it, I think that it puts you in a better emotional state to trade better, if that makes sense.
Right. And don't trade emotional anyway. If you wake up and your dog bites you, your kid says I hate you, you call and your grandpa's in the hospital, don't go sit down and trade. That's the wrong time. You
it's,
know,
it's not a good time. There's no
I
need to bench
prefer not,
trade.
right. Bench trading and trading while you're in an emotional state is not a good thing. You're supposed to be a robot. You don't feel anything. Boom, it's down 300. Cut it. Boom, it's down 300. Cut it. Good. I'm letting this one over here ride this up 800 and change. And I'm not even seeing the profit and loss. I'm watching that chart. So that's how you overcome it.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. And you have to play by your rules. You have to respect your stops. And a lot of traders use what is called mental stops, which, if you're really disciplined, and that works for you, by all means, keep doing it. If you find yourself changing your stops often, especially to the downside, please stop using mental ones, right? Don't use
I,
a mental
I
one.
totally agree with that. 100%. And that's one of the things I've seen. You will change a mental stop, or especially a new trader and an experienced trader will change a mental stop constantly. It's like goes back to that we talked about. It's at $3, and now it's at 250, and you hope it goes back. You've done screwed up your stop loss mentally, and you're still riding it, and you're hoping that that goes back to your original stop loss. I couldn't agree more, Maria.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with that. So, guys, um, just to kind of wrap things up, we know that everyone deals with hopium. We all deal with it, but it's important to recognize when you're falling into that or when you're drinking that hopium, and you have to stop drinking it, um,
Or smoking it,
or smoking it. Either
or
way,
injecting
do
it.
what you or whatever, right? You have to do what you have to do to stop. Tim, that was about all I had on my list. Do you have anything to add?
That was it. I just wanted to tell everybody about the Hopium House and how to, help try to avoid it. Listen, I've been doing this 20 years. She's been doing it 12. We still go by the Hopium House. We just, try not to go as often. You avoid it as much as you can, for sure.
And I promise
That's
it
it for
gets
me.
easier. It does get easier to
Yes,
pass
it
that.
does. Yes,
It
it does.
definitely gets easier. So guys, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do so. Click that subscribe now button for us. If you have questions, please let us know. Contact us on StockTwits or Twitter. And we hope you have a great Friday night. We will see you on Sunday night for our weekly recap. Take
Yep.
care.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Goodbye.